When it rains, it really, 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 really pours. It really does. Guess who apparently is now getting in the PlayStation 4K/Neo game? Yes, it's Microsoft. Both Kotaku and now Polygon are both reporting from various independent sources that Microsoft is working on 2 new versions of the Xbox One hardware, specifically a slimmed down Xbox One Slim, which is apparently as much as 40% smaller than the existing system, which apparently some people are saying might be one of the smallest, physically smallest Xboxes ever released, 1. And 2, they are apparently working on a second version of the Xbox One whose current code name is, or slash project name is apparently Xbox Scorpio. And Xbox Scorpio is planned for release in late 2017. And apparently this is going to be, like the PlayStation 4K, a significant upgrade over the existing hardware. In fact, a much more significant upgrade for 2 reasons. 1, the Xbox One is standard Xbox One is less powerful than the standard PlayStation 4. And 2, the Scorpio apparently represents a much larger, more aggressive upgrade over the Xbox One than the PS4K does to the original PlayStation 4. Apparently, Microsoft is targeting about 6 teraflops of performance of processing power for the graphics core in the Project Scorpio, while Sony with the PlayStation 4K is targeting about 4.4 teraflops, or around 4 teraflops and a bit of total computational power. So what this means is that apparently, from what I've been reading online, is that the Scorpio, if the Microsoft hits those targets, it'll actually be about 45% more powerful than the PlayStation, as it's known internally at Sony, than the PlayStation Neo. So 40% power boost over the PlayStation Neo, which is in itself has twice the number of compute units in its graphics core than the standard PlayStation 4. So they're talking about a very significant jump in capability. Apparently it also might be shipping with a 2 terabyte hard drive, 4K video support, potentially some kind of 4K compliant Blu-ray drive. Apparently the Xbox One Slim that is going to be announced and going to come out this year will also support 4K for multimedia and video and stuff, but not for games. So if I didn't feel like an old, angry old man complaining about how things were better in my day, I certainly do now. As I've said before in a couple of videos, I feel somewhat ambivalent towards my day 1 edition Xbox One. I got it at launch. It cost me 500 quid, 100 quid more than the PlayStation 4 cost at launch, which I was basically paying a premium for Kinect 2.0, which is also staring at me in the face as I have it hooked up, but I never use it for anything. The vast bulk of the games I've got for my Xbox One I have because of Games with Gold. I've bought relatively few titles for the system, principally because certainly here in Ireland they're retailing for around 75 quid a game, which is too rich for my blood, quite frankly, and because I've got a PC rig, which admittedly at this stage the processor came out in 2012, but it's still pretty competitive, and my GTX 970 graphics card is doing a great job for me, so I've had no real reason yet I'm feeling the itch to upgrade my PC, but it's not really gotten to the point that I can't ignore it. I'm probably more likely to buy a higher capacity SSD before I replace the motherboard and processor, because I'm gonna have to upgrade to Windows 10 at some point, and I'm gonna do a fresh reinstall of the whole thing, of the operating system and so on when I do that, and a new bigger hard drive to load it on and run it on would be, to my mind, a good idea. But this hasn't happened, this kind of incremental upgrade situation hasn't happened since the 16-bit era, the Sega 32X, which I missed, the Sega CD, which I played but also missed, didn't have it for my Mega Drive / Genesis, as they're known in the States. And both of those had pretty, disastrous consequences for Sega because they were expensive, because they got very little third-party support from Sega, let alone third-party support. And the next thing you know, they're both rendered obsolete by the standards of the time, overly expensive Sega Saturn. It was the beginning of the end for Sega. And that maybe as well as part of this, I'm kind of suspicious on about this whole incremental upgrade thing. And this other thing as well, the other part of the rumor is that apparently what's been reported by both Kotaku and by Polygon is that Microsoft is planning on transitioning to a mobile phone, smartphone / tablet model, where rather than brand new hardware every 5 or 6 years or so, it'll be an incremental process where they'll come up with new versions of the hardware every 2 years or so, or something like that, maybe 3 years. 2 years is too short for me. 3 years would be the bare minimum, where they basically offer upgraded, improved hardware every 3 years, incrementally over time. The new system will be backward compatible with the previous one, and the previous one will be supported with games as well. Like usually developers will be developing games released, that'll turn up on at least 3 different generations of iPhone simultaneously, which also does, which from my standpoint, I'd be critical of it in the sense that, and this is the thing that will be kind of holding back the PlayStation 4K / Neo and the Scorpio when they come out, which is that you're not going to see any developers take true advantage of the hardware because they won't be able to design games from scratch exclusively for it, which means they'll have to design games that'll run on the Xbox One, run on the standard PlayStation 4, which means dealing with their graphics limitations and, more importantly, their processor limitations. And that's the main weakness of the Xbox One and the PS4. Their processor core, CPU core setups are, they're shite, basically. Again, there are cores for use in laptops and high-end tablets and very small form factor desktop PCs. They're not built for performance. They're not built for power, and it's the single weakest upgrade over the previous generation hardware among the current gen systems. And an incremental model, I could turn around and buy a system 3 or 4 years from now that's 5 times as powerful as the Xbox One. But if it still has, if the developers are still having to make their games so they run on the Xbox One, I'm never going to see, or it's going to be a while before I see games that really take advantage of that improved capability. It's the same situation the PC space was in for a good number of years during the kind of 360 PlayStation 3 era, only with really kind of the real explosion in digital distribution, combined with the fact that piracy is nothing like the problem it used to be because of advances in anti-piracy technologies. Kind of big budget PC games development begun to come back. But even so, I mean, it's I don't know how to feel about this. It's going to be very interesting at E3. Apparently, Microsoft wasn't planning on announcing the project Xbox One Scorpio until some point next year. But because it's believed that Sony will be announcing the PS4K at this year's E3, their hand may well be forced and they'll have to announce it too. What that'll do to Xbox One sales, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens to PS4 sales as well. I assume Sony's going to announce a big price cut for the PlayStation 4 when they announce the PS4K, and it'll be very interesting to see the kind of general public reaction, not just from the hardcore gamers, but from kind of more relaxed core gamers as well. Anyway, this is a very much a may you live in interesting times type scenario, and I don't know how I feel about it. And frankly, I'm not going to buy an Xbox One Slim. If they offer me a PS4, an Xbox One, or Scorpio with enhanced this, that, and the other, I might think about it. But again, at this Christmas, I'm going to be thinking, am I going to buy a PS4K or am I going to buy a Nintendo NX? If it turns out, as I've said in a previous video, to be a micro console, it better be a cheap micro console. And if it comes with a monthly subscription, where they charge me 15 or 20 quid a month, like some people are now rumoring for video game streaming or stuff like that, that is for me an absolute no-no. Not happening. Won't be paying out. I can't afford to spend 20 or 30 quid a month on a subscription like that. I've got Netflix, I've got other things. Those things, that's where my money is going. And Xbox Live, of course, as well. Anyway, this is Defub21. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments on this. I really do want to know. people's feedback on this. I mean, am I the only person who feels as discombobulated / perturbed and / concerned by this? Are there others who agree with me or disagree with me? Let me know your reasons for agreeing or disagreeing with me in the comments. If you like this video, please like it, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. This is Defub21 signing off.